Coming up, meet the two women who want to be one senator.
You're not some hive mind. How will that work?
Jobsharing is a way to come up with a better conclusion for the people of Australia.
Is this job-sharing idea
We're not splitting the atom here, we're just sharing a role.
simply brilliant
I think if it can be done by a CEO, why can't it be done by a senator?
or completely bonkers?
I can't see Australians voting for part-time politicians. It's just not going to happen.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
Depending on how you look at it, what Bronwen Bock and Lucy Bradlow want to do is either brilliant or bonkers. They reckon they can make Australian politics better by offering themselves up in a 2-for-1 deal. That's right, they want to job share the position of senator. Now, the first thing you might ask is what happens when, if elected, these wannabe part-timers disagree on an issue? Well, very unpoly-like, they say, don't worry, they'll work out their differences amicably. So, should we believe them and start planning to vote 1 for 2? Or is this a case of double equals trouble?
Hang on.
Sit down.
I'm still hearing
You sit down, Buffett.
In Canberra, the high stakes of Parliament have long made it a lightning rod for drama.
Can anybody trust a word this man says?
In fact, that might be putting it lightly.
Have you got Tourette's or something?
Politicians have turned squabbling and bickering into an art form.
Growling and dog noises coming from this side of the chamber.
Not to mention backstabbing and party disloyalty.
That says everything about your incapacity to take responsibility for anything.
In short, it's one of the last places that comes to mind when you think of unwavering cooperation. So, it all makes what Lucy Bradlow and Bronwen Bock intend to do here either incredibly bold or rather naive.
It's time for more people to have a voice in the way that Australian politics is run. And we see job sharing as one way to do that.
We still plan to be one senator for Victoria, just made up of 2 people doing that role.
It may sound like a contradiction, but yes, you heard that correctly. Lucy and Bronwen want to each work balanced part-time hours by sharing the role, seat and single vote of a Victorian senator. It's never been done in a parliament anywhere in the world before. You're 2 separate people, you're not some hive mind. How will that work?
Well, we're coming to it from fundamentally the same core beliefs and values. But of course there are things that we disagree on. And I think the whole notion that it isn't possible to have good disagreement is terrible for our democracy. And job sharing is a way to show that you can do that together and you can come up with a better conclusion for the people of Australia.
At the end of the day, whoever is in Canberra will cast our one vote and have our one say on whatever issue is at hand.
Like Lucy, you're just going to back Bronwen and vice versa if they're in that way?
Absolutely.
To Lucy and Bronwen, it's not a matter of how, but why not? In the corporate world, job sharing is incredibly popular and has helped many women and men transition to part-time work, giving them balance and more time with family. Working 1 week on, 1 week off, Bronwen, an investment banker, and Lucy, a political communications specialist, believe they can achieve this in Parliament. They reckon they've got a lot to offer this place.
I've got 3 small children and it's not something that I'm able to manage at this stage, doing a 24/7 role and being in Canberra 22 weeks a year, but I have always been drawn to service.
And for me, I worked for a short time in Australian politics. It's very individualistic, can be very competitive, and it wasn't a culture where I felt like I could give my best self. And I know that when I do it with Bron, we've got each other's back through the good times and the bad times.
I can't see Australians rushing to the polls voting for part-time politicians. It's just not going to happen.
The thing about Parliament House is it takes rules and traditions very seriously. So, the idea of the world's first ever job-sharing politicians joining the ranks doesn't sit well with Senate stalwart James McGrath.
For example, You can't have a Prime Minister who's part-time, who's job sharing.
On a visit to the Queensland Liberal Senator's Parliament office, though, you might think he'd be open to going against the grain.
Welcome to the High Commission for Queensland. We've got invasive animals on the wall here, including a red deer who's on our coat of arms. We've got some Depression-era furniture. I've got Darth Vader there, and Darth is there because no matter how bad you are, there's always good inside you, even if you're green.
His outlandish interior design aside, James is a man adamant Canberra's ways must be upheld.
I give my 100% to this state and its people. They're my bosses. You cannot share my job with someone else. Can you imagine me...
Let me ask you this, though. There's a lot of landmass in Queensland. If you job shared, wouldn't you be able to get to more communities between the two of you?
No, if I turn up at, say, Thargomindah and say, look, I'm a part-time politician, I work Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, they'd run me out of town.
Plenty of Parliament's old guard are set on running Lucy Bradlow and Bronwen Bock out of politics before they even begin. To pollies like James, unlike almost anyone else, work-life balance isn't something to strive for.
I'm home probably one night a week on average. I'm out there listening to people. That's what you do when you become a senator. You've got to work hard at the job.
Do you think you might be able to work a little bit better if you had a little bit more balance?
I think I've got the balance as a senator because I love what I do. I've never had a sick day. I just get out there and I just love standing up for Queensland, driving around the place, listening to people telling me what they think.
So is that what this job still requires, 24/7, around the clock, devotion and sacrifice?
Well, the voters expect that. The timing is to be confirmed, which is the political equivalent of I'll call you in the morning.
It works for James. He doesn't have a wife and kids at home who no doubt have an issue with that. Right now, he's happily married to the job. To Lucy and Bronwen, though, it's an old mentality worth challenging. Walking around Parliament, does anyone turn around to you and go, you're crazy for coming up in this? What on earth are you thinking?
Yeah, almost everyone. But I think that's the benefit of it, right? I think that this place could use a shake-up. I think it could use people thinking differently and thinking about how it can be more inclusive and more representative.
And if anyone could pull off Parliament's most united front ever, it'd be these two. The lifelong friends have been inseparable since they were kids. From school to concerts, 40th birthday milestones, and now a 2-year political campaign leading up to next year's election.
These sorts of things that keep that connective tissue, I think, through life are really bonding and create a very, very stable foundation, which means that we're confident in how it will go in high-pressure situations.
Are you worried a pressure cooker environment like Canberra, like Parliament House will test the friendship you talk so fondly of?
You know, I think it's really funny. I would say our friendship has got stronger over the last 2 years.
I feel so confident that we're better together.
It's a term the pair has adopted for their tilt at the Senate, forming the Better Together Party. And it's more than just a political slogan. Because, as you'll see, for the corporate trailblazers inspiring Lucy and Bronwen's election bid, being better together is a proven success.
It's like parenting. You have to present a united front. We're not splitting the atom here. We're just, sharing a role.
Lucy Foster and Catherine van der Veen are what you might call Jobshare veterans. For the past 8 years, they've been a hugely successful packaged deal. Well, Lucy, Catherine, I want you to know we're so committed to the cause, the guys even set up one chair for you beforehand. I had to walk in and say, no, there are 2 people. 1 role, 2 people. Do you do just about everything together?
Adam, we do. We love spending time together. Lucy's very dear to me.
I mean, often Catherine gets called Lucy and I get called Catherine, and that's when I know the job share really works.
Wait, you're Catherine.
No, she's Lucy.
Together, they've held senior positions, even a chief executive role, at some of the country's biggest banks and insurance companies. Right now, they're a senior executive at Allianz Retire Plus. Working part-time allows them priceless and precious moments with their kids. But these two are no corporate slouches. How do you both make it work?
Well, practically, the job share is structured so that I work part-time and Lucy works part-time. So I work Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and Lucy Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. We have that handover day on a Wednesday. There are instances where I have to make the decision. I don't always have Lucy there, and there's a level of trust that I cannot operate autonomously, and we're in service of the same outcome.
So you do sometimes make decisions by yourself and don't run
Yes,
past
well,
the
you
other
have
person?
to.
Absolutely.
In order to keep things moving, we're in a high-paced role, things move forward quickly, you sometimes have to make decisions in the moment. That happens all the time, but what is important about the job share is I communicate that to Lucy so she knows the decision that has been made, why it's been made, and so when she picks up at the later half of the week, things can keep moving.
It might not work for all.
Joining Lucy and Catherine at their Sydney office, it's clear, in a business setting at least, this really works. They're a hit with their colleagues. Do you feel like you're seeing double?
No, they are the one.
They're the one role, aren't they?
They are indeed the one role. Yeah.
Two colleagues?
Yep.
How do you navigate that? Two people in one role?
Oh, it's excellent. I love it because I get two brains for the price of one. I don't think it perhaps might work for everyone, but I think you have to have that very close relationship that's very supportive and huge open communication as well.
Do you have a preference?
No.
I knew you'd say that.
I love them both equally, like my children.
The reality, though, is this modern and progressive Allianz office is in stark contrast to the combative institution that is Parliament House. Nonetheless, Lucy and Catherine's success is exactly what Australia's political job share candidates, Lucy Bradlow and Bronwen Bock, believe they can emulate in Canberra. This could be a hard sell for a voter base. That's something people have never voted for before.
Our experience so far is that people are very open to it. They see it working really successfully in the private sector, they see it working in the public sector, and they're open to it because it'll bring a new crop of people in who might not have decided to go into politics in the first place.
But the problem for Lucy and Bronwen is a seat's never been job shared for good reason. Opponents are adamant it's unconstitutional. So, long before their names appear at the ballot box, their resolve will likely be tested in the High Court. University of Canberra law professor Kim Rubenstein is the pair's constitutional advisor.
It will still be a single vote. They will still be a single member. It is that they are job sharing that role.
While the Electoral Act does talk of just a candidate, it doesn't strictly say it needs to be one person. And that's the grey area Kim hopes opens Australia's constitution to interpretation. Bronwen and Lucy, they're banking on you being right.
Yes.
Are you right?
There is a very clear argument as to why not only is this constitutional, but in fact that it could be unconstitutional to not allow two people to run as the candidate and as the member of the Senate or as a member of the House of Representatives.
Every lawyer in Australia would reject that lawyer's interpretation of the Constitution. You would need to change the Constitution to have part-time politicians. It's not going to happen.
As for Liberal Party Senator James McGrath, he believes politics is fine just as it is. Not too long ago, women couldn't be in Parliament, they couldn't vote. That changed. Why can't we change this?
Voters expect their politicians to give it 100%. They don't want to vote for two people to go down who might have different views on the same issue. You end up in all this legal complexity of how Parliament operates. It's just going to end up messy. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and you're looking forward to your dance showcase this time?
Catherine van der Veen and Lucy Foster suspect that's the wrong attitude, which could cost politics some new blood. Job sharing hasn't just given them the executive role and balance thereafter. They say it also gives business access to an otherwise underused batch of talented leaders who just can't commit to extreme hours.
When people are sceptics or critics, I think it's just because they're unsure or they haven't seen it in action.
And in actual fact, more and more, certainly over the last few years, when we have conversations with CEOs, you know, or board directors around job sharing, they say to us, I wish I could job share. That's true, actually.
I wish I could.
Yeah. Did you get that on film?
I think we're still rolling, yeah. I'll let you know if it goes down well with the boss.
I think if it can be done by a CEO, why can't it be done by a member of parliament or a senator? Do we really think being a member of parliament or a senator is that special and that difficult? It's that much more of a hard job than being a CEO?
Politicians and senators might think so.
And that's something we're almost trying to get to, is there is a fair bit of ego in Parliament today. When Lucy and I work on a problem, we bring different perspectives, we bring two sets of skills and experience, and actually together we come up with better solutions to problems. Two heads are better than one.
It's the argument Lucy Bradlow and Bronwen Bock are determined to take all the way to the High Court, and then, hopefully, to next year's election. And be it judges, sitting politicians or just voters, they're confident they can convince many it's time for a change. For these political job share renegades, this is just the beginning. No matter how far they actually get, at the very least, they'll turn some heads and open some minds doing it.
Why shouldn't Parliament be like any other workplace where there are options for flexible work and job sharing? It's always until something is possible that it feels impossible.
Hello, I'm Adam Hegarty. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minute segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.